the defending for the fourth goal is nothing short of pathetic. It is so poor. The goalkeeping is horrific, and the defending is really poor.
The Asensio winner, Callum made a tit of himself in front of
Yes,
the
I did.
whole it was,
In a pub
watching it on
full
his
of
phone.
England rugby fans.
Yeah.
Wait till I see you this weekend. We'll have some.
Forgetting I was wearing heavy boots, managed to just completely crack the seat in half, literally just snapped it off.
As he's been coined in our household, the Big O. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Second City podcast with me, Callum Byrne.
And me, Daniel Sketchley.
We're back for another week, a little bit delayed because there's been a lot of midweek games over the last fortnight or so. 3 games a week for both Villa and for Birmingham City. But Dan, how are you? I think you went to a couple of games over the week, as did I.
Yeah.
How are you? Well rested, ready to go again this week? The big one this week, of course.
Yeah, it is the big one this week. We'll get onto that later. Yeah, I'm okay, thank you. Had a bit of a sad week for a few reasons, just in my personal life and stuff. So I won't get too into it, but obviously you know about it and so on. Bit of a strange week, up and down, kind of very sad one for a few reasons. But it's been a testament to the healing power of football. To be honest, it's been quite nice. Been glad to get back on the podcast, get back to a bit of normality, been able to go to a few games, including an away day, so that was quite nice. And obviously with Blues, it's ticking along about as good as it's ever been, really. So I can't moan too much. But we'll get onto all that in a bit more detail. How about you? How are you getting on?
Not too bad. Getting ready for a mad week or month, I should say, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe we'll touch on that a little bit later. So, but yeah, it's going to be a crazy week for many reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. Sweet. Well, before we get into, as you say, 3-game week for both of us, triple game week, so very full on. Shall we get into what we're wearing? Start what we always do.
Yes. Do you want to guess mine again first this
Yeah.
week? Because
think that'll
you've
be the
probably got
easy
the
one.
slightly more interesting shirt.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yours is pretty easy. Well, I know it's this season's shirt.
Do I even
It's got
need to hold it up? All I have to do is
No.
that, don't
Well,
I?
it's this season's home shirt, yeah, with the Champions League badge on it, which is how I could tell. Adidas, obviously. My only thought is, have you not won that already on the pod? Maybe you haven't.
I haven't.
Or maybe you
No.
have. Okay.
No.
Have you bought it new? Have you just got it?
No, I got it pretty much in release week, but I've been saving it, and I have finally run out of shirts. I do have the goalie shirt from this year, which I wore for the second week of the season. So maybe that's the one you're thinking of. It has been in the background a lot as well.
Maybe
I
that's
just
what I'm thinking
haven't
of, yeah.
worn it for this segment yet.
Fair enough. Yeah, well, obviously it's the 24-25 home shirt. A season which I think it's fair to say is going great in the cups and okay in the league.
Yeah, it's going all right in the league.
Yeah.
Could be better, could be worse. We'll when we talk about, especially last night's game, I'm going to hit you with about 5 or 6 mental stats.
Okay.
So be a nice return to Stat Corner or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think Chant Corner or
Chant
whatever we
Corner.
called it is coming back this week, but
what? Oh, someday maybe. Someday.
maybe another day. But yeah, so home shirt, first one by Adidas. It is an absolute beaut. It's about as perfect an Aston Villa home shirt as you could probably get, really. The quality of the shirt is good. I mean, I spoke about the home shirt in our season review last year because I wore it on that podcast, last year's home shirt, and the quality of the home shirt in terms of the material and the way it's put together was really, really poor. So this has been a huge step up this year. Obviously, in terms of the season, like you said, it's going great in the cups, except the League Cup, and it's all right in the league. It's very, very up and down in the league.
Yeah.
And could go either way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, time will tell on whether this shirt could end up being a cup-winning shirt. It could end up being a missed opportunity shirt. We'll never know. But we did wear this shirt when we beat Bayern Munich and Celtic. So
counts for something, absolutely. Cool. What do you think I'm wearing? So very minimalist.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Dan. So this is basically a very, 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 very old Penguin shirt.
Yes.
Possibly a remake. It does. You turned around earlier and it does have a number on the back. That's not going to help me. It has the number 8.
Oh, surely of any number that would help you. For those listening, yeah, it's just a home, well, clearly a home Blues Penguin shirt. I'll give you a clue. It's not one particular season. This was used. I'll allow a bit of leeway on this one.
Am I right in saying that you've effectively had 3 Penguin kits over the years?
Um, no, we've had
Because
more than that.
you've
Yeah,
had
we've had
more
more.
than that. Okay,
Quite a few.
because
Quite.
you obviously had the one in the Premier League. Was it the Premier League? Yeah, it must have been in the Premier League.
Yeah, 2007. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when we did the Steve Bruce episode, I used the picture of Bruce in a penguin kit for the
Yeah.
thumbnail.
Well, we had the Lee
So,
Clark one as well. Remember the Nicolites one? Yeah.
oh my God, yeah,
I
yeah.
think we had
So,
some more in the 90s as well. Could this be from the 90s? Who knows?
no, I think
It's the
it's
old
from the
badge as well.
80s. Yeah,
Mm.
the really old badge, really nice badge.
I'll
Um,
allow, as I say, I'll allow a bit of leeway on this because it's
I'm pretty sure it's the 80s, especially if it went over multiple seasons, maybe even earlier than that, could even go back to the 70s. So we'll probably go around. We'll go for 1980 to 82.
you're quite a bit off, but I appreciate it's a very difficult one. This is the 1971 to 1975 home shirt.
Oh, I was only
Um,
10 years out.
only a decade, yes. You weren't born until the late 90s, so we can
Yeah.
allow it. And the number eight, obviously, Cal, was Trevor Francis's number. It's one of the most famous numbers in Birmingham's history. So yeah, 1971 to 1975. This is a remake, I believe, but it's identical to the original, obviously, because it's well, obviously this isn't original. It'd be worth a lot of money if it was. Um,
You'd be
and
wearing
yeah,
gloves and it being like a sealed
yeah, it
case.
would be. Yeah, it would be. Thank you to James for loaning me this one. Um, yeah, but the 70s, obviously, I haven't worn a kit from the 70s at all. So interesting to go down memory lane, bit of a trip down memory lane, and look back on that era. Widely considered one of the great periods of Birmingham's history. Sadly, it wasn't an era where we won a trophy. That was the only thing we didn't do, really. But we were in the top division for pretty much the entire decade, and it saw us come forward with a number of club legends like your Trevor Francis and so on, who's widely considered the greatest player ever, obviously. So a little trip down memory lane. So we actually finished second in 1972, so that was the old second division, so the first season in this kit. And then stayed in the top division until 1979. So it was a really good run. I believe it's the longest run we've ever had consecutively in the top flight. So we finished 10th in 1973 in the top division, 19th in 1974, but this was back when it was a 22 team league, so we weren't relegated. 17th in 1975. But we did make it to the FA Cup semi-final in 1975. Obviously, we've never won the FA Cup, but that was widely considered the time where we should have. That's kind of what a lot of Blues fans of an older generation say, that that was our chance. We got knocked out by Fulham and it was won by Leeds. But it's kind of widely regarded that was the one, really. It was like prime Trevor Francis, and yeah, that was kind of the one thing that was missing, really, from that era. But yeah, I mentioned Trevor Francis. He was brought forward by Freddie Goodwin, who was the manager of the club for the first half of the 1970s. Trevor Francis went on to score 133 goals in 329 appearances, a true club great. Blues also had players like Bob Hatton, who was a centre forward, played from 1971 to 1976, and Bob Latchford from 1968 to 1974. Actually, in the first season when we got promoted, Bob Latchford scored 30 goals in all competitions, which is pretty good going for what is now the Championship. So yeah, a pretty famous time in the club's history, and we didn't actually. Went through all of them. Didn't actually play Villa once in this whole time that we wore this kit because you were never in the Premier League in the old First Division in this era.
Nope.
No, so yeah, we were in the second division. You were in the third division. You got promoted, and then you were in the second division until you got promoted in 1975. So we did play after that. Yeah, so some other very famous players to play for the club in that time would include Kenny Burns, who obviously went on to Nottingham Forest and won the European Cup twice with them, with Trevor Francis in the 80s. Joe Gallagher, Gary Pendry in defence, Gordon Taylor out wide, and Dave Latchford, who was the brother of Bob Latchford, and he was the goalkeeper. So yes, a truly like the iconic Blues design, I think it's fair to say. I would love to see for the 150th anniversary next year another take on the Penguin kit. I think that would be pretty cool.
Another one.
Another one. It's been over 10 years since we had one, so that'd be pretty cool. So yes, 1971 to 1975 home. Iconic.
That's one I think you need to get in your own collection.
Yeah, yeah, probably. But I've been trying to. I have the Penguin shirt from the Lee Clark era, and I've got obviously got the away Penguin one, which
Yeah.
I've worn a few times. The red one, the white and red one, which I love. Trying to track down the Steve Bruce Penguin one, not the one he had as a player, the 2007 one, the Bruce McLeish one.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that kit. One of my favorite Blues home shirts, definitely. So yes, yeah, that's what we're wearing for this week.
Shall we get into the games then? Because
Yeah,
you're on your way to Wembley. Have you booked your
we are.
train
Yeah.
yet?
No, we're getting a coach. We've got a bus actually,
Really?
a private bus. We're going big this year, so that should be pretty cool. So no, don't need no trains for me this year. But no, yeah. So we start with Bradford then. That was last Tuesday. Of course, it feels like ages ago now, but we will touch on it because it obviously was a huge game. Beat Bradford in the EFL Trophy semi-finals. We're off to Wembley in the EFL Trophy final, and I've said it every single time we've talked about the EFL Trophy. We want to. People will take the mick, say it's Mickey Mouse. You call it the Mushroom Cup. You want to win it, man. It's going to be mental.
Yeah, I
I'm
agree.
super excited. 36,000 Blues tickets allocated. It's going to be an invasion of North London by Blues, so I'm super excited. At the time of recording, we don't know who we're playing in the final yet. It's Wrexham Peterborough tonight. Either way, it's exciting though. It's either going to be the big Hollywood derby with Wrexham, which I know some people are a bit sick of, but I think it would be pretty exciting still. And it has been
Me,
like, you know,
me, sick of it.
oh, I just think I feel you talk about your badge every the different
Yeah,
Villa
that's
badge
true.
every week.
The problem with it is if you play Wrexham, I'm gonna have to cheer Wrexham on, and it just feels wrong, if you know what I mean.
Sure. But if it's Peterborough, it's holders versus holders because obviously Peterborough
Yeah.
won it last year, but we won it when we were last in it 30 years ago. So that'd be pretty cool. And then there's the Barry Fry connection as well. So yeah, we obviously delighted with the win, a late Lyndon Dykes header.
But you made hard work of it
We made
against the
very
League
hard
Two
work of it.
side.
We did, and I'll touch on the Reading game later. But that Bradford and Reading were probably the two worst performances I've actually seen in person, and we still found a way to win this game, so it counts for a lot. But yeah, we made really hard work of it. I actually thought the second half Bradford were the better team, honestly. Like for a lot of it, we looked really knackered. Don't know if we're just not, we don't rotate a lot. Chris Davies clearly trusts his 11, his main 11 that he starts with, but we looked really knackered. And now we're going into a part of the season where we are picking up injuries, and I'll get onto that more with the Reading game. So the squad's just getting a little thin, and I just hope ahead of the final we can try and get those numbers back up again a little bit and have a bit more strength in depth because we are, yeah, some of our key players starting to go missing. Obviously, Stansfield had an injury, had to go off. Bizarre as well. So Stansfield put us 1-0 up. Bradford made it 1-1, but they did it on a counter attack where we were attacking and Jay Stansfield got fouled in the box. A penalty wasn't given, and then he had to be subbed off with an injury, and Bradford scored from that counter attack. So, he had to be stretchered off for context. So, a questionable refereeing decision to say the least there. Thankfully, it looks like Stansfield's injury isn't too serious, and he will be back in the next, few weeks. Hopefully, he should be back for Wembley. Touch wood. But that Dykes header, lovely header. He's had a lot of stick this season, Dykes, and some of it justified, absolutely. But a lovely old school header from an Iwata cross. I actually thought if Duke was on, it was prime for him. He would have probably scored that as well. It was there, that kind of striker's goal. I think I was telling you I had a bit of an incident with the in the
Yeah.
celebrations in the limbs. Yeah, I was wearing my Doc Martens, and I don't know, it was just carnage when we scored. It was an amazing moment. And I put my foot up on the seat. I don't know how I did it. I think I put my foot
Yeah.
on the seat in front and just forgetting I was wearing heavy boots, managed to just completely crack the seat in half. Literally just snapped it off. Was relieved to see at the Leyton Orient game last night that it was fixed.
It's been
So
fixed. That's
no,
good to
no
know.
one's gonna. The guy who sits in front's not gonna kick off, thankfully, because he didn't seem to notice on the night, thankfully.
Don't you stand
Um,
anyway, though?
we do, yeah. To be fair, we
Yeah.
do, yeah. But even so, so yeah, no, really good night, great atmosphere. Yeah, credit to Bradford though. I thought they played really well. So they deserve a lot of credit. And I just enjoyed the whole occasion again. I feel like we've been a little sport recently with like big night games. Obviously, the Newcastle game the other week. I don't know if you saw the light show before kickoff that we did.
Yes, I think I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. It wasn't like amazing. It wasn't as good as the JK thing the other week at Newcastle. I don't think it was everyone's cup of tea, but I like appreciated they were just making an effort with it, trying to make. I think there's
The light
potential there
shows
for
are a
that
bit
sort of thing.
weird. We did a light show once or twice. I remember Sheffield
Mm,
United at home last year was the first time we really did one.
yeah.
Just give me the flame boxes and the fireworks. That does it
I
for
think
me.
if they can, I think it needs to be a little bit shorter and get a better song to put it to that people can get
Mm.
into, and yeah, and then segue directly into the walkouts. I think would be the way to go about it. But definitely potential there. I wouldn't mind seeing it again. So yeah, really good win against Bradford. Delighted with it. April 13th, gonna get it booked off work because I'm working that Sunday. So yeah, super excited, and yeah, Wrexham or Peterborough in the final. First trip to Wembley in 14 years. Very exciting.
April 13th, I know to not go into London that day.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Or I will. I'll just go and wear my Villa shirt.
Oh, how dare you?
Yeah.
Well, you are gonna be on Blues turf very soon, but we'll get onto that later.
Mm.
Cool. You had a game midweek last week as well. That was Liverpool, I believe.
Yes, and I'll probably go into Chelsea as well at the weekend. So I went to
Yep.
Liverpool. I made a crazy decision to go last minute. Left work at left work at like 4:15. Took me 3 and a bit hours, I think, to drive from Stockley Park all the way to Villa Park. For context, that's a normally the way home took me an hour and a half. So that's kind of how mental it was to get up there, no
Mm.
stops. Just hit lots and lots of traffic, and I made kickoff by about 15 minutes. It was
Ooh.
really touch and go. Um, but yeah, I parked the car and like ran to the ground, and I had loads of time in the end. So, um, really good game. It's the first time I've been in the upper Holt for quite a long time, maybe for a couple of seasons. I've tended to go into the lower Holt um, a lot more. That's just kind of I feel that's where I feel like I belong in the ground.
Yeah,
I don't
sure.
know. If I bought a season
Yeah.
ticket, I'd want it in the lower Holt, but I used to love going in the upper. But because I bought the ticket last minute, literally the second back row in K1, so right in the far corner, the roof overhangs and you're off to the side. You get a great view of the pitch, but obviously they did the fireworks before the game, which they do a lot on this slot. They weren't just for Liverpool. Um, but I wasn't expecting the fireworks, and because I couldn't see them, one of them went off. It made like the 4 or 5 people around me, all of us jumped because it was just really loud. Um, but yeah, it was a really, really fun game, a really exciting game. 2-2, pretty good result given that Liverpool are probably winning the league this year, and
Oh, well,
Mo
yeah, almost
Salah
certainly.
is probably odds-on favourite to win the Ballon d'Or at the moment. So, uh, really good performance. A little bit disappointing we didn't win the game because we had the chances, but I came out the ground into very happy with a point, as it was a game that we definitely a game that both sides had chances to win it, and we give teams a lot of chances to score goals, and luckily Liverpool only got two. Um, Watkins's goal, probably one of my favorite goals of the season. It was just fantastic. His get kind of 1-2 give and go with Luca Dean, and it's one of those where I was watching the game and Watkins picks up the ball and he gives it to Luca Dean, and then as Dean goes down the line, I had eyes fixed on Watkins watching his run. And so I watched him the whole way and he got on the end of it. So that was really cool. Because sometimes it's very easy when you're watching the game to kind of ball watch a little bit.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I'm terrible for it.
So that was kind of cool too, because I watched his run. And something I would say is I think Mo Salah's a great player, but there was points in the game where I was just watching him and you kind
Yeah.
of appreciate how bloody good he is.
Was it like
Um,
Zidane the movie where I don't know if you've ever seen that, where it's
I
just a
haven't,
camera on
but
Zidane for the whole film?
yeah.
It's like,
I
yeah.
remember I remember back in the day, this is going back maybe 20 years. Sky Sports, when they had their televised games, used to have player cam, and you could press
Mm.
the red button and they had a camera following one player for the whole game. And
Oh,
I know that FIFA do it as one of their bits of content for the World Cup.
right.
I just remember the time that Stephen Davis was on player cam for Aston Villa, and I was put the red button on. Um,
Yeah.
but apparently we wanted to watch the actual game, not just Stephen
Yeah.
Davis. But
Bit of a
it is what it
strange
is.
feature. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so after a draw against Ipswich, which felt like 2 points dropped, this certainly felt like a point gained. And then we went into Chelsea, a game which I said last week I'd be annoyed if we didn't win because Chelsea are in really poor form at the moment. I know they beat Southampton last night, but doesn't everyone, apart from Ipswich. Um, where in typical Aston Villa fashion this year, we conceded very early on with the first shot on target, and we're having to come from behind again. And the Spanish prince, the Spanish magician Marco Asensio came to the rescue with a helping hand from the Chelsea goalkeeper as well, and we managed to turn it around. I thought we were really poor in the first half, but the second half, I thought we were great. And Chelsea,
Mm.
the things that we tinkered and changed at half time really worked, and Chelsea couldn't really live with us in the second half. Um, and we got the equaliser. Very close for offside, went our way, and then a helping hand from the goalkeeper for the winner. A game that I wish I was in the ground for, but alas,
Where
I
were
was in
you
the pub.
for it?
We were in the
Yes.
pub watching it in
Yes.
London.
Yeah,
Um,
I called over to see you guys 'cause I was somewhat nearby. And
yeah.
yeah, I can confirm the Asensio winner, Callum made a tit of himself in front of the
Yes,
whole
I did.
pub. It was
In a pub
watching it on
full
his
of
phone.
England
'Cause,
rugby fans.
yeah, because all the rugby was on all the TVs. We were in Oxford Circus somewhere watching it, and but you got your moment at least. I'd be
I
the
did.
exact same, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was slightly like miffed, obviously.
Yeah.
um, but no,
I mean, it was
yeah.
great. Dan was sat right next to me for the limbs in the pub, and so got to really celebrate the Villa goal with me, whether he wanted to or not.
That's true. Yeah, our mate Will wasn't as happy because Arsenal had just lost, and he was yeah, not
Yeah.
too thrilled. So it was
Oh well.
mixed emotions at that table.
Yeah.
Doubly mixed because I'd just been to Blues Reading.
We had the Holy
That
Trinity, a win, loss, and a draw.
Yeah, we did. So I trekked over because I'd just been in Reading for another away day, which was quite nice to get to. Early game against Reading. All a bit flat, to be honest. I don't know if it was after. It felt like a come down after a big Tuesday night game, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. The
Reading's a
early
weird.
kickoff after the
Yeah,
midweek under the lights. Yeah.
yeah. It was probably not a bad point. Reading have got a good home record. We couldn't beat them on the opening day of the season at home as well, actually. And they played pretty well, honestly. If they could shoot, they'd have, definitely stuck a couple of goals away, to be honest. Yeah, we just weren't at it. First half was very uneventful. Scott Wright went off injured early on, which is another blow. And then second half, yeah, we just weren't at it at all. We had one really great chance where Kishi Anderson did all the work. I think I showed it to you. Kishi Anderson did so well to win the ball back and put it across goal. We'd drawn the keeper out as well. Lyndon Dykes, like, this kind of sums him up. Like, scores the winner midweek after coming off the bench. You'd think that's his moment. He's going to kick on from here. And then he basically, yeah, there's a defender on the line. It is a good block, but he had to just kick it anywhere other than right in front of him, and he scores. It was a really poor miss, really, really poor miss. And then he pulls up with an injury just a few minutes later, and now it looks like he's not going to be available for the final now at Wembley, which is talk about you know a high to a low. Yeah, pretty much. They reckon he might be back for the last few games of the season, but it's for the most part his season's done. So that's a real shame. And then Kishi Anderson had to go off injured shortly after that as well. So we're kind of, I don't think that one's too serious, but it's picking up a bit now, and that's a bit frustrating. And I just hope, as I said, we can get a few bodies back for the final.
Chris
But
Davis has
yeah,
taken his apprenticeship under Ange Postecoglou a bit far,
yeah,
isn't he?
a little bit, yeah. I mean, it's things like, these kind of games. We've got players like Mark Leonard who we weren't using maybe as much as we expected earlier in the season. And maybe Chris Davis was thinking we can rotate them later, but obviously they're injured now with these players that we'd want to rotate with are injured, so that's frustrating. Yeah, just really, it felt like a come down. It's not a bad point. That made it 16 league games unbeaten, so I really can't complain. We're still comfortably top of League One. But yeah, not a vintage Blues display at all. Yeah, so one of them. Not quite as exciting as the last time I went to Reading when we got promoted on the last day. That was a bit more like, whoa. Uh, yeah, not our finest hour, but made amends on Tuesday night, so can get into that in a moment.
Shall we talk about the nightmare of Selhurst Park?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, my point being, like, I had a bit of a mixed weekend with Blues, but then it improved a lot on Tuesday. You were the other way. You had a very good weekend, a
Yeah.
very good week, in fact, and then an awful performance. What happened last night, Cal? You were at Palace away, and I saw it was 1-1 because I was at the Blues game, and then I came
Yeah.
out and heard you'd been demolished. What happened?
Yeah. I mean, a weird night where if ev pretty much everything that could have gone wrong kind of went wrong.
Hmm.
A really bizarre night. The team selection, the formation. If you've listened to this pod from day one, or if you've followed Aston Villa since Unai Emery took charge, we play one formation. It's quite fluid, but we play one formation, apart from when we were at home to Spurs last year and away to Crystal Palace this season. We play a 4-4-2, and for some reason, and God only knows why, we went man for man, a five at the back, um, a formation that Villa have barely ever played in its history.
Hmm.
It's just not a Villa formation. I remember Dean Smith was, I think, the first Villa manager I remember playing a five at the back where we did it for about 2 months in the survival season. And then we played it once against Spurs where we let 4 goals in and lost. And we played it last night where we let 4 goals in and lost. Um, if we were going to play a five at the back, feels very weird then to not play an Ian Matson because we know he
Yeah,
cannot defend in a four. So if you're going to play a five, surely you would play him because in English football, he's probably a natural wing back.
yeah.
But we didn't play Luca Dean, who's a very good fullback, but I wouldn't say he's a wing back. So, and then So the first half we were okay, and it's very easy to be quite reactionary. The first half we were pretty good. We were okay. Um, we had a goal disallowed for offside, which was rightly offside for Jacob Ramsey, and then we Crystal Palace's first attempt on goal, kind of second attempt on goal, goes in the back of the net. Was there an offside in the build-up? Yes, but they didn't go. They didn't take it back. So clearly they thought it was a different phase of play. We've we've been done for less than that over the years, but it's a VAR call. It's going to be subjective. You kind of with VAR offsides and phases of play, you're just rolling the dice and kind of hoping that it's on red or black.
Yeah.
Um, because we then get an equaliser in the first half, which is one of the closest offside calls I have seen for a long time, especially in the VAR era. I thought we kind of gone away from it felt like a 2019, 2020 VAR
Yeah, the
offside
toenail offsides.
where
Yeah.
you're looking for the toenail, and I know, and the semi-automated offsides can't come quick enough because it takes too long and the pictures are really inconclusive. Ultimately, even with the semi-automatic offsides, you're gonna still have the toenail ones. But at least when you get like the 3D graphic and image, you can kind of see where the offside is. I
Mm.
can't see where the offside. It's one of those. Back in the day, you'd say it was level, and until you go in really zooming in on cameras that are in a very poor frame rate. Some of it's probably not even HD, and
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
mess.
yeah. I agree.
Which is a shame because it was a really well worked goal. Doesn't matter. And then at halftime, Robin Olsen comes on for Emmy Martinez, who I think has some issues in training, and so felt something in the game, and so they took him off. He's not going to play the FA Cup game, which I don't think he would have done anyway. Get him ready for Bruges. Robin Olsen comes on, and as the teams come out and he's walking down to the goal, he's getting booed like crazy. But not from the Villa fans, Dan. From the main stand of Crystal Palace, they're booing Robin Olsen. Would you like to know why? Because I was there on the
Yes.
telly and did not realise till after the game why. Because Robin Olsen, he's not played for Palace, I don't think.
No, I don't
He
know.
hasn't played for
Something to
Millwall.
do with Brighton, maybe. I don't know.
He hasn't played for Brighton. Something bizarre happened at half time.
Oh, okay.
So obviously we're making a goalkeeper sub. So Robin Olsen was warming up in one of the goals, doing lots of practice catching and crossing. But Crystal Palace as many clubs do, have a half-time entertainment where they had kids.
I did
Yeah,
hear about
yeah,
this.
they had
Yes, yes,
kids.
yes.
They have kids that take penalties against the mascot down at the main stand end. Robin Olsen is warming up, and there's this hilarious video of these three kids and a couple of members of staff, and the announcer stood on the edge of the D. The mascot stood in the 6 yard area with its hands on its hips, looking at Robin Olsen. He's just cracking on, warming up, as he should
Yeah,
be,
this is, yeah, yeah, yeah.
because he's got to warm up to come on. The announcer's even like, "Can you move, please?" Or can we do the halftime game? And I think a member of the Villa staff comes down and says, "What the hell are you doing? We're making a sub. He's got to warm up. Go
Yeah,
down
yeah.
the other end of the pitch." And so you ended up with this where we've ended up forcing the Crystal Palace halftime entertainment down the other side of the pitch. And yeah, it just meant that Robin Olsen was
I, c-
getting
I can
booed.
understand it, to be fair. I can understand it. If that's your end of the pitch, like, he's got to warm up, that's fine. Like,
Yeah.
But it's weird, like, before games, I've never really understood why. They have another goal set up at Blues a lot of the time for them to practice in. I don't really
Yes.
understand why. I don't know if everyone does that, but I don't
Yeah,
understand.
I think they all do it. We do it
Yeah.
certainly as well.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, Robin Olsen came on, uh, as he's been coined in our household, the Big O.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so the Big O came on and got the pre-assist for our equaliser. Just lumped the ball up long. Ollie Watkins flicks it on, and Morgan Rogers does absolutely brilliant the way he brings the
Yeah,
ball
it's a nice
down,
goal. Yeah.
turns, and scores. It's a fantastic goal. Probably going to be our goal of the month, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Um, be up there. It won't win goal of the season, but it'll be on the short list. Let's put it that way.
I think for raw
Um,
technique, it's up there.
yeah,
It's
it's
unbelievable.
because it very easily could have like ballooned off his shin and stumbled
Mm.
out for a goal kick. It's a wonderful goal. Um, and then we just fell apart. And
Mm.
one of the other changes that happened at halftime was Andres Garcia went off for Leon Bailey. I thought, all right, right, I guess Bogard will now go to right back. We'll play a four at the back and go back to our normal formation. No, we had Leon Bailey playing right wing back. And
Mm.
I mean, he did well, but he was doing more defending than he was attacking, and Leon Bailey is not a defender.
Yeah.
Um, Not that he was at fault for any of the goals. I don't think. I can't remember about the fourth one, but he certainly wasn't primarily at fault for that. We just fell apart. Complete, quite a worrying capitulation at the end. We ended up taking Ollie Watkins off at 2-1 or 3-1. We were playing without a recognised striker because we're playing Rashford off the left. Really bizarre. Really, really bizarre. Mateta's goal's great, but
Yeah, I was
then
gonna say
we were
Mateta's, but that made it
Mateta
2-1,
goal.
didn't it? That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a
Was it 3? Yeah,
fantastic
2-1. Yeah, beautiful
two
goal.
or three. Yeah, I can't remember. Ismail Assar got a third where we just give the ball away. There's another close offside. Obviously, this one doesn't go our way. It was just that sort of night where the close offsides, just none of them went our way.
Yeah,
Another night, we get them offside twice. Our goal stands, and we maybe win 2-1 or nick a 2-2.
yeah.
Um,
Are they a bit of a bogey team for you, Palace?
a
I could be
bit,
wrong.
yeah.
It feels like you don't get
Selhurst
much.
Park has become a bit of a bogey ground for us. We've lost on our last three visits there, and we've been
Yeah,
battered in all of them. But one of the middle one, which is the last game of last year, is a bit of an outlier because we were on the beach. We played a bit of a joke team. We
yeah,
just
sure.
kind of threw the game because we couldn't finish any. We couldn't move effectively.
Well, I remember when you played there a few years ago. It was when you'd just been promoted, and I think Greece
Oh,
scored last minute.
I've forgotten about that one. Yeah, I think yeah,
But I
the
mean,
last
you
time
were
we
all
won there.
crying over that one when it was perfectly fine
Yeah.
refereeing decision. But
Oh no, it wasn't. Shut up.
anyway, moving on.
You having a laugh?
No, no, I'm genuinely.
Wait till I see you this weekend. We'll have some knock some sense into you, Dan. Um,
Sure.
but yeah, we've only won there once since we got promoted. We've lost every other time. That win was under Steven Gerrard in his second
Oof,
game in charge. Um,
bring him back.
no. Um, yeah, mess. But I've got some statistics for you, Dan, as well.
Let's hear
Um,
it. Let's
s-
hear it. Is it about
um,
Ismail Assar by any chance?
he is one of them, but we'll get to that one. Now, I don't. He was probably at fault for at least one goal last night, where he should do a lot better. But there's no denying the numbers. Robin Olsen is not good enough, and here's a stat for it. So all of these stats come from AVFC Stato on Twitter. Great account if you're a Villa fan. As an Aston Villa goalkeeper, Robin Olsen concedes a goal every 36.67 minutes he plays. He's conceded 42 goals from 92 shots on target against him in the 20 games he has played for the club. And
Safe hands.
for context, he's played the last full 90 and a half against Crystal Palace and has let in 8 goals. 4 of them for Jean-Philippe Mateta, by the way.
It's a good player,
Last last night, Aston Villa conceded 4.31 expected goals against Crystal Palace, their most on record in the Premier League since promotion back to the competition in 2019. For this season as a whole, Aston Villa have conceded from their opponent's first shot on target in 17 fixtures this season,
Ooh, that's
as
bad.
well as the rebound in 3 games where the first attempt was saved.
Right.
So effectively 20.
Hmm.
Ismail Assar. Ismail Assar has at least one goal involvement in every Premier League game he has played against Aston Villa. He has 7 goal involvements in 5 Premier League games against us. 5 goals, 2 assists, 4 more than he has against any other team.
Gee.
But to end on a
Sign him up,
positive
please.
note, yeah. Well, do you not remember under Gerrard when Gerrard had his summer here? We were about 30 seconds away from signing him. Where like it
I
got
don't remember, but that makes it
so
funny.
like Fabrizio like almost announced it's like, oh, Ismail Sarr's going to Aston Villa. Here we go, imminent. And then like 30 minutes later, deal off. We just can't. We just went,
Hmm.
yeah, no, never mind. Really bizarre. But to end on a positive, we're only 5 points off third place.
This is my point. All this all this sobbing away, all this crying. Oh, we're having such a poor season. You're like 5 points off the top four, and you're like in the
It,
quarterfinal. Or you could well be in the quarterfinal of a Champions League, and you got a very favourable FA Cup draw.
in a couple of weeks, we could well
Woohoo!
be in the quarterfinals of the FA and Champions League.
Exactly. I
So,
don't understand it. It's a lot of. You lost 4-1 at Palace. So what? You beat Chelsea at the weekend. I think it's like. Yeah, I understand it's frustrating. It's the lack of consistency that's maybe more
I think
annoying.
that's the thing really. The main thing that annoys me, it's not so much the inconsistency, although that is a factor. The clean sheets. I think we've kept three
Yeah, yeah.
league clean sheets all year, and it is a severe problem for this team that we
Mm.
let in a lot of goals. To let in the pretty much the first shot on target we have in almost every game is a huge issue that needs to be resolved one way or another. It hasn't worked playing. I know we've had a lot of chopping and changing with injuries. All of our injuries this year have pretty much been centre mid and centre back. Everyone else has kind of stayed fit. We've got two fit centre mids and two fit centre backs, maybe even one and a half.
Yeah.
Um, so it is that chopping and changing is always going to cause problems. But we've conceded goals in a four, we've conceded goals in a five at the back. Sack off the five at the back, and unless you're a team that is specific, you were kind of seeing it at Man United. They're trying to play a three or a five at the back with players that have been bought to play in a four,
Yeah.
and so it is obviously a mess, and it doesn't really work.
Why change it though? Why did he change it? Like,
I wonder if it's because when I mean, I think I said on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, we're a team that do stereotypically struggle against a five at the back historically over the last few years. Um, and Crystal Palace caused us a lot of problems in the home fixture over the Christmas period. They caused us a lot of problems in the last game of last year as well under Glasner. And I wonder if there was maybe an element of, right, we're going to go man for them. And it kind for 45 minutes, it worked. Maybe even 55, it worked. But once the wheels came off. Once the second goal went in, the wheels came off. I mean, we let Eddie Nketiah score his first goal of the season, and it is the defending for the fourth goal is nothing short of pathetic. It is so poor. The goalkeeping is horrific, and the defending is really poor. And it just capped off what was a really bad night. But we could be here in a week and a half and it's all rosy again. But all of a
exactly.
sudden, there's all of a sudden what should we should be very confident going into Friday. We're all of a sudden on the back foot, going, "Oh my God,
Yeah, quite a fast turnaround as well, obviously.
yeah."
Yeah.
But this was one of the I forgot what it was, 6 games in 5 or 6 games in 14 days. So,
Right.
and we don't play another Premier League fixture, home Premier League fixture for month, a month or so.
Right.
So, anyway, that's that. We're moving on. We are only
Rant
positive.
over.
Rant over. We are positive from here on out.
It was a
Um,
blip.
yeah, until the next Premier League. I mean, the next Premier League
Sure.
away, the next Premier League game we have is away from home. Yikes! And it's after a Champions League game. Double yikes. So,
Yeah.
and it's at Brentford where we don't win. I know we won there last year, but we don't win at Brentford. So,
Yeah.
I've seen this script before.
Sure. Cool. Well, we had moving back onto Blues at the same time. We had a much better night. Um, we had Leyton Orient, and it was a real "I was there" moment, if you know what I mean, Cal. Those one of those like moments that stick in your mind when we completed a league double over Leyton Orient. That was a very a big
Well, you
moment.
have
But
done the home and away for it. So,
I have, yeah, I have. That's nice, and I'll be doing another one this weekend, completing that. So. Yeah, after two kind of rocky performances against Bradford and Reading, where we still obviously didn't lose either game, but not great performances, we were kind of back to our just steamroller, pristine, controlling best. And that's despite a few injuries. Obviously, Stansfield was out, Dykes was out, Wright was out, Anderson. So Alfie May got to start again, and even Duke got some time off the bench, got 20 minutes or so off the bench, which was quite nice, and he's probably going to get a bit more game time soon. But the game was kind of changed after about 12 minutes when Leyton Orient had a man sent off for what was termed a lunging tackle on Iwata. I think it's one, if that was our man getting sent off, I'd be furious. But after some really poor refereeing decisions lately, like the Stansfield one I mentioned earlier against Bradford, I'll absolutely take it. And I can see why he's giving it as well. I think it's a little harsh, but I can see why he's giving it. Um, but then for a lot of the first half, we just couldn't actually break them down. Had all the possession, all the chances. Alfie May hit the bar and the post, and then missed a one-on-one in the second half, so it wasn't his night at all. But we did go on to win 2-0. Taylor Gardner-Hickman getting his first goal for us, which was nice. And Ethan Laird finishing it off late on to make it 2-0 with a nice near post finish. It was just complete cruise control. It was super comfortable and kind of exactly what we needed. Ben Davies continues to be an absolute rock in the defence. I'm so pleased with him this season. Nice to see Emil Hansen come back from injury. He's kind of flattered to deceive a bit. with kind of been a bit stop-starty in the team and in and out, but we're going to need him the next few weeks with a few injuries. Peck Sung-ho, unbelievable. Probably our most naturally gifted midfielder, central midfielder since Barry Ferguson, I would argue.
I
Probably the
mean,
most
you've
technically.
been singing his praises for like 12 months. You're a
Yeah,
big
honestly,
Peck fan.
he's a higher. I'm a big Peck fan. Yes, that sounds. a bit- That's not going to be the title of this week's episode. Don't stop trying to get that in there. No, um, it was yeah, very accomplished player. I know we've been blessed with technically gifted midfielders over the last 10 years or so. Andrew Shinnie, who could forget? But no, he is top of the line. He's a higher Championship player, if not, dare I say, if not lower Premier League. He's outstanding. So yeah, exactly what we needed ahead of a really big game this weekend. So yeah, 2-0 against Leyton Orient, super comfortable. And a big crowd as well, obviously, because it was a ticket incentive for the Wembley game as well. And also people are just going again. We just have big crowds again this year, which is wonderful. So yeah, 2-0, delighted, very pleased with that. So yeah, that was Blues this week.
Do you have much housekeeping to do, Dan? Because I've got a little bit.
I have. We'll start with Blues then, because I just have a very small bit before we move on to Villa's housekeeping, and it's not even really Blues related. It's just very tenuous. But I thought it was interesting. We just mentioned Peck being the most naturally gifted Blues centre mid since Barry Ferguson, and Barry Ferguson's been in the news this week. The former Blues midfielder is now
Yes, he
the
has. Yeah.
Rangers manager, or he's the interim Rangers manager for 3 months. Obviously, they sacked their manager this week, Rangers. Um, and Barry Ferguson's gone in on an interim basis, which I just
It's
thought was
very football
interesting.
manager, isn't it?
He's very football manager. I know he did a bit of coaching. He was a well, he was yeah, I think he did an interim spell at Blackpool, I think, and he managed like Kelsey Hearts and stuff like that in Scotland, the lower Scottish tiers. But yeah, obviously he's a bit of a club legend at Rangers. Obviously won a lot there, two spells there, and finished when he came to Blues in 2009. One of my favourite Blues players ever. Obviously it's Rangers, so I don't want him to do too well at all. But yeah, interesting. One to keep an eye on, and he follows a number of players from that era at Blues, like Bowyer, who have gone into management. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. That'll be interesting. The league is pretty much Celtics this year already. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. But yeah, just keep an eye on that. It'd be interesting to see how he gets on there. I wish him well in his career as a whole, not so much this, not so
Well,
much
the
this
league's
period.
kind of done, so he can do well
I
and
guess,
then
yeah,
get
I
a better
guess.
job.
I always thought when we had Bowyer as manager and Gardner as technical director or whatever he was at the time, we should have got Ferguson in just for the laughs, just to have like that trio back. But no, yeah, interesting. How about you then? What have you got in housekeeping this week?
Obviously, Club Bruges tickets are going on sale. I think, if they might already be on sale for season ticket holders. Hopefully, I can bag one on Monday morning. So I'm in the second members window. So, and unless anyone else is watching that's done 3 games, they're actually going on sale on Tuesday. Um, so I can bag mine.
Yes.
But it's um just a little. I thought I'd just quickly touch on our women's teams because we haven't talked about Villa Women for a while. So um we had a new manager at the start of the season who fell out with all the players, had horrendous results, and was sacked, I think, in January, and was replaced at the end of January by Natalia uh, Arroyo, something like that. Sorry if that pronunciation is wrong. Who signed a 3.5 year deal. Within a couple of days of that announcement, arguably, if not our best player, our second best player at the very least, Kenza Dali, left to go to San Diego Wave. And then just a couple of days ago, 2 days ago, it was also announced that one of our other better players, Adriana Leon, has also gone to San Diego
Hmm.
Wave. So our women's team's in a really weird place at the moment. They're probably not going to go down. Um, but 2 years ago, Rachel Daly won the Golden Boot. We finished fifth, and it looked like we'd been on this really good path and really good momentum where we got promoted, we stayed up, we were improving, and it looked like maybe we could crack into that top four at the time of the
Hmm.
WSL. And maybe unlike the Premier League, the disparity in the top half and the bottom half of the WSL is huge. It is
Hmm.
massive. You've got there's a real, maybe almost like the early 2000s of the Premier League where it was the same top four every year, just maybe in a slightly different order. It's basically like that. The top four are kind of always the top four. And with Christian Purslow at the helm, we were pumping lots of money into the women's team, and it was getting better and better. Last year they struggled. could not replicate the heights. Still had an okay season. This year's been a disaster. The best players are leaving. We've had we've effectively had three managers. We're on our third manager of Carla Ward has now got the Ireland job, but she left in the summer. Um,
You smashed
uh,
Blues Women, obviously, as well, Carl Ward.
yeah, and bought a lot of players from Blues Women over when Trillion Trophy and Dong pulled all the money out of it. They basically all came to us.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's a really weird era now for the women's team, and what comes next? There's no shirt sponsor for the women's team this year. Um, it's kind of what's next and what's going to happen. And okay, San Diego Wave, by the sounds of things, are going to be like the new Manchester City or PSG of women's football. They're just chucking money at it like crazy,
Yeah.
um, which is why the players are going there. So. Yeah, one to keep an eye on, especially over the next 12 months, and we'll see how the new manager gets on. We are in the quarterfinals of the Women's FA Cup, so you never know. Maybe we're on for an FA Cup double this year. How historic would that be?
Let's hope not. Absolutely not, under no circumstance. I will be if it's a Villa Cup final in any capacity, I will not be watching. I hate watching Villa in cup finals. It's very stressful. I'll have to rely on your feedback on the pod on how it goes. Um, cool. Shall we move on to the other West Midlands clubs then, Cal?
Yes, let's do that.
Cool. We'll start with Wolves. They are still 17th in the Premier League. They lost 2-1 last night though against Fulham at Molineux.
But they did
Um,
have a very good result against Bournemouth on Saturday.
They did. I think that's maybe what's frustrating. They beat, for them anyway, they beat 10-man Bournemouth away on Saturday, but then lost at Fulham last night. Fulham are having a good season, though, to be fair. But I think it's just like switching off. I don't know if you saw that Wolves conceded in the first minute, and then it was basically the first minute of the second half last night. It was when their two goals were conceded.
I mean,
A
I'll be
double
honest,
shame because João Gomez.
I did know that, but as soon as our game finished, I went to bed. I had to
Fair
check
enough,
some of the results
yeah.
this morning. I didn't care. I just went to bed.
Fair enough.
So,
Too depressed. Didn't want to talk about football at all. Yeah, you definitely weren't going to record the pod last night, that was for sure.
no.
Um, but João Gomez took a lovely goal to make it 1-1. Yeah, otherwise frustrating for them. But they are 5 points clear, although Ipswich and Leicester, I believe, are both playing tonight as we're recording. So they're 5 points clear, and I'm not just saying this to take the mick. Ipswich are away at Man United tonight, and you would not be shocked if they got a result there and made it a little touch and go. But I think Wolves will have just about enough in them. They've been pretty impressive, in relative to earlier in the season at least. So yeah, one to keep an eye on. Um, Down in the Championship, West Brom have had a bit of an up and down February. Mowbray's been there for I think he's had 7 games now, and I think they've won 3 of them. So a little bit up and down, not really playoff form. But they did have a 2-0 win against Gary Rowett's Oxford on Saturday, to put them back into the playoff places. I think they're fifth now.
It
Oxford,
is mad
it
to
was.
think both of them managed you a year ago.
Yes, that is very true. Yeah, the 2024 Blues manager Derby, as it was
Yeah.
known. Um, it was a good result for them to get, because Oxford started really well under Rowett and have just been a bit up and down since. I think they've not won in 6 now. So it's a good result for Baggies to get, and yeah, keeps them fifth in the league. Um, who've they got this weekend? I think they've got Sheffield Wednesday. I think they've got on Friday, so you'd expect them to maybe kick on there because Sheffield Wednesday are just falling away from the playoffs a bit now. But a team that are absolutely on fire at the minute is, and I know I didn't expect to say this when it was all announced, but Frank Lampard's Coventry are like 2010 Barcelona at this point in time. They've won 7 wins. They've got 7 wins in 8. They beat Preston 2-1 at the Rico Arena, or whatever it's called now. On Saturday, I think it's 2 first half goals from Jack Rudoni and Bobby Thomas. Very dominant for them. And they're actually playing Oxford this weekend as well, the lunchtime kickoff on Saturday. So you'd expect them to probably get another win there. They're just a point behind Baggies and Blackburn, who are sixth, so they're seventh in the league. Their goal difference is only one behind Blackburn as well. You'd put money on them at this point in time to kick on and get into that playoffs. They are looking exceptional. I don't really know how Lampard's done
But
it,
they do this,
but
they always end
yeah,
strongly though, so it's hard to know if is it the Super Frank effect
I
or
think
not.
I think Lampard has proven throughout his career he's capable of making teams worse. Um,
Yeah. Although
like
he did get his that Derby side into the playoffs. Maybe they did underachieve a little bit.
yeah, I
Or
think
maybe
this is
they
a
were on
bigger.
par. They probably weren't the best team in the playoffs, but you look at some of the players they had.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I think he'd do well here to get them. I know they do always kick on commentary, but at this time of year. But no, I think he 7 wins out of 8 speaks for itself. Yeah, their February has been unbelievable. It's exactly what they needed.
And the
Um,
Blackburn game, of course, will be former Baggies boss Valerian Ishmael's first game in
yes.
charge as well, after former Blues manager John Eustace has
Oh,
gone to,
sorry, gone to Derby. So,
yeah,
Coventry are playing Oxford this weekend, not Blackburn.
sorry.
But yes, Valérien Ismaël has been appointed as the Blackburn manager. So yes, that will be interesting. I don't. Did you see their announcement video on a side note,
Yeah.
Blackburn? I don't know. The comments all seemed a bit like, just another generic Championship manager going around. But anyway, who knows? He might surprise us, yeah, Ishmael. But yeah, that was commentary. Um, and then finally, Walsall in League Two. So they're still top of League One. Of League One, that would be impressive. They're still top of League Two, and they're 7 points clear of Bradford still, who are second. But they had a big disappointment last night away at Cheltenham. They were 1-0 up after a minute at Wadden Road, so they got off to a perfect start. They made it 2-0, I think around the 80-minute mark. So yeah, top of the league. You expect them to cruise it from there, but then they conceded in the 90th and 93rd minutes to draw 2-2. So that would be very underwhelming and a way that they probably should win. And the fact that they were 1-0 up for literally 90 minutes or ahead for 90 minutes and then to crumble like that, 2 late goals, Matt Sadler, I'm sure, will be disappointed. But with 13 games to go, it's still looking very healthy for them. And of course, remember in League Two, the top 3 teams all get automatic promotion.
Yeah.
So it's looking very healthy for them. So yeah, that's a roundup of everything going on elsewhere in the West Midlands in the Football League this week.
We'll do a quick preview because I'm aware that this podcast is going to be really long this
Yeah, sure.
week because
Yeah,
there's a lot of games.
it was. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
we play on Friday night. We got FA Cup action. Who have you got in the FA Cup this week, Dan?
No comment.
Uh,
Moving on.
we got Cardiff at home. We got 3 former villains all returning to Villa Park. 2 of them for the first time since they left the club. So we got Callum Robinson returning, made a handful of appearances, made his debut the same night as Jack Grealish in an Aston Villa shirt. We've got Callum Chambers, who left in the summer, returning. And we've got the man himself, Anwar El Ghazi, coming back as well. Um, so we concede goals, so he's probably going to score. Um, and he's the best penalty taker I've ever seen at Villa Park, so he's probably going to score a penalty.
And the game
Um,
could go to penalties after
it
extra
could go
time.
to,
Who
yeah, we
knows?
don't, yeah, I mean, Robin Olsen's going to be in goal, so let's hope it doesn't go to penalties. So yeah, I mean, it's a game on paper we should win, but and I'm hoping this is going to be the weekend where the magic of the cup dies again.
Yeah,
Um,
sure. As I famously have said many times.
yeah, so
No, you should beat Car. You should beat
we
Cardiff.
should beat
Obviously, I
Cardiff.
hope
They
you
did
don't.
beat. I know
But
they beat Hull last night. We should beat Cardiff. I think we'll play as set. I don't think. I think especially off the back of the Palace game. I know we've got Bruges coming in a few days later, but we're going to play a series. We'll play a semi-serious team with a few changes here and there. Like Matson will probably play and Bogard will play. Olsen will play, but I still think we'll probably see. It might be a good opportunity to get 90 minutes into Asensio and Rashford. Obviously, they're managing their minutes because they haven't played a lot of football this year, so I could see that.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, hopefully we win. If we do, we're in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, and all of a sudden, a trip to Wembley is potentially on the horizon, depending on the way the draw goes. So, as we said, the league's been up and down, but the cups are very promising. So
yeah,
I might as well do Bruges as well while we're
yeah, yeah. Go
we're
for it.
on
Yeah.
it. So I
So
on
when is the Bruges game? That's next
Tuesday
week.
night, yeah,
But you don't know if you'll get a ticket until Monday.
yes.
Cool. Cool.
Well, and if I do, it's not going to be in the away end. So,
Sure. Yeah.
um, but yeah, we're basically me and Dad are going just for the jolly. Really, we're not
Fair enough. Yeah.
expecting to be able to. We're not expecting to go to the game. We're just going for the jolly. We're there from Monday to Thursday because we booked it as soon as the draw was made, and we didn't know if the game was on the Tuesday or Wednesday, and so we're going for 4 days in Bruges. We had to postpone um, our Eurotunnel after we about 5 hours after we booked it because we would have been on the tunnel when the tickets for the second leg go on
Right.
sale. So
Got
there's
you.
a potential disaster on the horizon there. So,
Hmm.
because ultimately we gotta go to the home leg.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
um, I couldn't do Bologna. I would have done the Bologna game if I was in the country, but obviously I was working away, and so we didn't. Neither of us did Bologna. And so we're not guaranteed a ticket, which when they go on sale on Friday, which is a little bit annoying. But we've got a chance for revenge. Obviously, we went to Bruges earlier on this season and it was a disaster. So as long as Tyrone Mings doesn't pick the ball up again, I'm hopeful.
Yeah,
Um,
winning at Bruges isn't for everyone, I suppose, is it? So,
well, we'll see what happens this time. The most
sure.
important thing really is that we don't do what's just if we repeat what happened at Crystal Palace and we lose the first leg 4-1, we're in serious trouble.
Yeah.
So if you offered me a 0-0 or a 1-1, there's no away goals rule. If you offer me a draw, it's a good result because I do think we'll beat them at Villa Park. Um, because our home form this season has been very, very good, and I've always under the lights, especially, I fancy us against anyone at Villa Park. We even even if we did a repeat, if we lost 1-0, it's not the end of the world. We just cannot afford to be having to chase the game by 2 goals at Villa
Mm,
Park because we won't keep a clean sheet anyway.
yeah.
So. Often and in two-legged football under Unai Emery over the last couple of years, our away performances have tended to be very tight, very close. Don't know if we've won many of them. I don't think we've won any of them. Of the two-legged ties, actually.
Mm.
Drew, trying to think to last year, drew with Ajax, lost but went through to Lille, lost to Olympiacos. So yeah. So all right.
Anyway,
Anyway, you can cut
no,
it
that's
if you
fine.
want. Um,
It's all right. His episode's
anyway,
very long, is my only
yeah.
concern.
I hope we
So,
win. I hope we win, and that's the end of it.
fair enough. Cool. I'm only doing that because the big event is on Saturday.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And you've got two games in less than 24 hours.
I do, yeah.
Uh, and you got a big, forget Bruges, forget that stadium. You're visiting a real stadium on Saturday.
We're going to a
This
garden
weekend,
shed, yeah.
how dare you? This weekend is a massive game in League One. It's first v second. It's Blues versus Wickham. As I mentioned, we got a few injuries. But yeah, huge game. And obviously, you live in High Wycombe, so you've got a bit of a second club thing with Wickham going on, just a little bit. And you're making your first visit to St Andrews in the
I
away
am,
end as
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
with our mate Will to go to Blues Wickham, which is
35 quid a ticket, Dan.
it's the norm, yeah. No, I agree. 20's plenty, 30's dirty. That is very pricey.
For a
That is
A
poor.
League One game for for
Yeah,
Birmingham City to charge 35 quid is a disgrace.
yeah, that is poor. But no, it's a huge game. I actually think with all our injuries, I actually think a draw would be awful. I really don't. We've had so many, not all our injuries, even just the fatigue and like the amount of games. It's literally been. I think we had 8 games in February. It's literally been Saturday, Tuesday for weeks. So I don't think a draw would be a bad result at all. But if we can win and create even more distance, that'd be amazing. Wickham are in a well, I mean, really. So they lost their first 2 games. Obviously, the second game was against us at their place. But they've had unbelievable form and they've actually maintained it since Mike Dodds went in as well.
They've had a great season, really.
They have. They've only lost 2 of their last 31 games, taking you back to just after when they last played us. Although they've only won, I think they've only won 4 out of their last 11, so it's just tailed off a little bit recently. But they just don't really lose games, which is another reason why I think a draw would be okay. So
They're a
yeah.
bit Wickham are a bit like how you used to be as a side.
Mm.
Lump it
Also,
forward,
oh yeah, sure, yeah,
lump
yeah,
it
sure,
forward, fly into the tackles, not be afraid to get your elbows out. They're a bit like, a 2010s Tony Pulis Stoke or a Dyche
yeah.
Burnley, but for League
It's gonna
One.
be a it's gonna be a clash of styles this weekend for sure. Hopefully, though, I could see them sitting off and letting us control the play and so on. To be honest. But yeah, huge game. Early kickoff, not on Sky, or it's on the red button, but not on
It's
like
on Sky Sports
Plus.
Plus.
Sorry, yeah. Um, yeah, looking forward to it though. I think it'd be probably our toughest test between now and the end of the season, honestly. And of course, obviously, tonight as we're recording, it's actually just kicking off as we're recording. Wrexham Peterborough tonight, so keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, next Tuesday we've got Bolton away at the lovely named Tough Sheet Community Stadium. Um, I would not be shocked if there's a bit of a hangover after the Wickham game as well. But we can get 4 points from them 2 games. Happy, very happy with that.
Top stuff. Anyway, I think that probably wraps us up because it's going to be at least an hour-long episode.
Yes,
Because
yes.
you just wouldn't shut up about Blues versus Wickham. Um,
No, sorry.
Anyway,
Go on.
if you have enjoyed this week's episode, and even if you haven't, please like, share, and subscribe on whatever you're watching or listening to us on. Follow
Yeah,
us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram at 2ND City Pod.
Yes, thank you so much again, everyone. And it's about a month ago now, but don't forget to check out our interview with Lee Clark if you haven't checked it out already. Former Blues manager is on all the channels wherever you follow us. That would be wonderful. One of our favourite things we've done for sure on this channel. So yeah, until next week, Cal. Safe trip to Bruges. I hope you're able to get a ticket, and we'll catch up very shortly.
See you next week, Dan. Probably late next week,
Yeah,
maybe even the week after. But until then, up the Villa.
shit on the Villa and keep right on. See you next time.